Hello there, Birdie here with another video for you in the quick review series. Hope you're all alright, having a nice evening. Today, upon request from one of my patrons, was to review Paths of the Druadan. Not a list that you see very often. I think it is pretty powerful, but in one particular way, and is maybe why you don't see it as much. But let's get into it. So, video plan as always. We have the Paths of the Druadan. We're going to look at the army bonuses first, and then we'll get into an analysis of the actual army itself, strengths, weaknesses, key profiles, traps, all of that. Then we'll look at an example list at its low optimal threshold and a list at its higher optimal threshold. And then hopefully at the end of the video, you will then like and subscribe after listening to all of this. So let's get into it. So, Paths of the Druadan must always contain Theoden, who is always the army's general. So there is a Theoden tax, as there is in most Rohan armies. A Paths of the Druadan army must always contain Gambarigan and a warband at least 12 Wars' warriors. And Riders of Rohan do not count towards this army boat limit. So before we even talk about the bonuses below, what that means is and then on top of that, you've got your Riders of Rohan that don't count towards the bow limit, meaning you can have an exceptionally shooty, dangerous, ranged list. They are all strength 2 bows and blowpipes, but sheer volume of fire, that is pretty nasty. Getting into the special rules, if during the heroic actions step of a move phase, both sides have declared move off and a roll off is required, instead of it being a normal, get an additional one in your favour, a bit like an Elven Blade roll off. Kill Orc folk. Friendly models may reroll to wound of a natural 1 when making strikes against orcs, goblins, and Uruk-hai model. Now, this also goes hand in hand with the fact that Wars' warriors and Gambarigan already have hatred, orc, goblin, and Uruk-hai. So they're likely wounding on 4s, sometimes 5s, but most likely 4s, and re-rolling 1s against them. So against evil, they're pretty dangerous. And then last one is waypoints. At the start of the game, after both sides have fully deployed, you can put 3 25mm waypoint markers anywhere on the battlefield, and whilst within 6 inches of them, so quite a nice big radius, friendly Rohan models don't suffer the penalties for moving or charging through difficult terrain. It's pretty handy for a mostly all cavalry army. So, discussing Paths of the Druadan, I've put on here that I think their best points level is 600 to 1,000 points. They have a few strengths. The obvious one is shooting, mobility. They get the advantage for move-offs, which for an all-cavalry army is, almost all-cavalry army, is a fantastic buff to have. And if you face evil armies, you're going to have a good time, especially Wars', considering they are quite expensive and not particularly good value. They considerably go up in value when you're against an evil army. And then you do also get quite a lot of throwing weapons in the army as well, or you can. Weaknesses, however, is you've got a relatively low defence. Your Wars are very, very weak. They're only D3. You've also got a lot of Riders of Rohan and things like that that are very low defence. You can take Royal Guard, however, in this list, which does help. And fight value is a bit of a weakness. It's not a massive weakness because you've got Royal Guard, they can charge and be at fight 5 and all of this, but your Wars are only fight 3, your Riders of Rohan are only fight 3, 4 only charge. Another weakness is the fact you've got Théoden as your leader. It could be very easy for him to lose a fight and give away leader wounds. But for me, the biggest weakness is not really a weakness of the army, but it's a weakness of how it wants you to play. Shooting strategy. And it's not fun to play against. I don't think it's that fun to play with. But I think it can be played in a more engaging, fun way. But you're going to have to carefully manage your wars to make sure you're not just losing loads of models very quickly and breaking quickly and all of this. Now, something I did get wrong is I always hear people saying a lot of good stuff about Amer, and I'm always a little sceptical of it. I don't think he's that amazing or haven't done previously, but I do in fact think I'm wrong, because he's a 3-fate hero with Horse Lord, meaning it's very hard to get him off the horse. Firefoot gives him a 12-inch movement, which might not sound like a big improvement, but when you face something that moves 12 inches compared to 10, it's surprising how much difference that makes. It also puts you on the same ground as all the flying units, your flying monsters, your bats, your guahirs and things like that. They can keep up with those. He also has a throwing spear. He's got the exploding 6s. He's got strength 5 on the charge, I think it is. Maybe that's another list. Maybe it's not this one. But anyway, he's a good profile all round for his points cost, which I previously didn't believe in. Key profile I'd say for this list is gambling, because you want to be taking quite a lot of the heroes, I think, in this list. And if you take gambling, not only does it give you a 6-inch banner to make them all more reliable, but it gives you the opportunity to potentially get quite a bit of might back over the course of a game. If you go into a game with 10, 12 might, there's a decent chance you'll get at least 2 extra might points back through gambling's banner, as well as him being a 6-inch banner and being a fight 5 heroic defense, 3 attack on the charge killer. The biggest trap, I think, for anyone playing this list is shooting too long and not playing the objective. A lot of the games and scenarios require you to get up the board and move quite quickly. And you've got all this shooting, so it's going to be a constant temptation of, oh, well, I could just stand here and shoot for one more turn. But you might be actually hindering your own chances of victory by doing that. So I think it is one to try and, I don't know, it's a warning to you if you are going to use this army. Don't play the skirmish game for too long. Maybe a couple of rounds of shooting, but then you need to get involved. Use your heroes. You've got a lot of heroes, a lot of might. You can be quite aggressive with this army. You don't need to just embrace purely the shooting way of playing, in my opinion. There's also a particular profile that I really like in this army. So the Rohan Outrider has a 3+ shoot value, which is really nice. But it also has a special rule that means it gets a stand fast, no matter where it is on the, no matter where heroes are on the battlefield. So this makes them amazing at going to get objectives. Now you may say to me, oh, well, Birdie, you can just use a grab an objective for you. They're not doing anything for you, because yes, they've got maybe a throwing spear, but unless somebody's within 8 inches of them, they're not doing anything for you then. And also they're the better fighters. Whereas if you take Rohan Outriders, they've got a bow as well, and they're very good with the bow. So if you get to an objective, a far-flung objective or something like that, I don't know, you're playing Sights of Power, Maelstrom, you're having a big fight with your opponent, they can run off and grab that objective. But once they're there, they can then be using the really good shoot value to pinging off space supports and Cool little profile. They have to be mounted in this list, but I think they're pretty good value. They're quite low defense, but I think if you use them well, I think they're a great little profile. So my conclusion to Path of the Druadan is it's meant to be a mobile shooting list and relies very heavily on the shooting. However, I think you don't have to play it that way. You can play this army quite aggressively with the heroes and maybe use the Warses for a bit of skirmishing. But I don't think you need to play it as oppressively as it seems to be built on paper. I do think there is some better experiences and play styles with other Rohan lists, which is maybe a reason why you see other people, most people taking other Rohan armies than this one. Maybe it's just that it's hard to get the hands on the original Warses models. Maybe there is a bit of that as well. So let's look at some lists now then. So at the lower threshold, I think you're looking at about 600 points. At 600 points, because you're having to pay the Gambrigan tax, I've maxed out the 2 warbands here. Now, yes, you could build it a bit differently with lower model count and get more heroes in, and that might be an optimal way of doing it as well. However, this list, how I've done it, you've got a lot of shooting. So you've got 9 bows as well as 16 blowpipes. You've got 8 Rohan Royal Guards to give you fight 5 on the charge, all with throwing spears. We've got 6 Rohan Outriders to give you good hit values on the bowmen that can go get objectives for you as well and do some work for you. You've got a decent leader with Theoden that also has Heragrim to mean that you win draws. And you also have a banner in the list as well, just a basic banner, but it's still in there. You've got March on Gambrigan as well if you need to get anywhere quite quickly. And yeah, it's just a good model count, 34 models with quite a lot of cavalry in there at 600 points. You maybe don't have an answer to anything really big, but if there is anything really big on the battlefield, you could just suppress it with a lot of fire. Rest of the army with your cavalry. However, I do think this list works a bit better at higher points. So I've gone all the way up to 1,000 here, because this is where I've gone distribute the stuff across the warbands. But I've got here 12 Rohan Royal Guard, all with throwing spears. We've got 9 Outriders, giving you the better hit value. Got some Riders of Rohan in there as well, just to get the points value to work. And the 15 Warses Warriors with Gambrigan. We've got 13 Might on the board. Got Irma and Gamling and Theoden, all getting potentially Might back from Gamling. Elfhelm as well, with his incredible throwing weapons, 4 attacks on the charge as well. He can do a lot of work for just 80 points for you. And you've actually got 45 models, 30 of which are, 29 of which are cavalry. 14 throwing weapons as well, 13 bows plus 16 blowpipes. If you're building it this way, you'd need to play very aggressively. Get into your opponent as quick as possible. At 1,000 points, there is plenty of armies out there that'll probably outshoot you. And with your very, very low defense on the Warses, they would go down pretty quick to any bow fire. But you can always use terrain. They are very good in terrain. There's ways to play it. So, yeah, not a great deal else to say on the list. There's not that many options with it. The free combats with Theoden, but you've got to kind of use it well. That's more for an experienced player to get the most out of. I think this is a decent base template to work from. But yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you like the video, and if you have, please like and subscribe. Check out the Birdies World Tournament log on Spotify if you're interested to hear how I do at tournaments. I go to them almost every other weekend. most weekends, not even every other. That's not doing it justice. Almost every weekend. And if you want to check out tactics, strategy, how I've got on at the events, check that out. Thanks to everyone that already subscribes on Patreon, and if you want to support what I'm doing, there'll be links to that. And also, last of all, I've got a tournament that I'm running in Leeds on the 6th and 7th of June. We do still have a small number of tickets left, so if you would like to join us, you'd be most welcome. Anyway, take care everyone, have a nice evening. Good night.